Well, many people think that free market fairness is an oxymoron, or perhaps an evil plot. It's neither. I think there's a kind of fairness that's found in free markets. I think for too long we've thought that if we care about fairness, we can't care about free markets. And if you care about free markets, you ipso facto ain't fair. I think that's a mistake. I think that markets organized a certain way, not respecting property rights as absolutes, not unbridled capitalism, but there's a moral ideal within capitalism, within commercial society, that's been lost and not defended adequately by people on the right themselves because they were so skeptical of social justice and fairness. But I think that the best way to understand markets, and perhaps the best way to understand fairness, is by combining those two ideas.
I'm just interested that you don't think that social democrats have already taken on the idea that individual economic rights are quite important. And certainly there would be a critique on the left in this country that in fact social democrats have gone too far in privileging those rights.
Well, I'm not sure. I think there's a conception of social justice developed in the late 20th century that puts very little emphasis on private economic liberty. And no doubt there have been some reforms on the left to take those liberties more seriously, but I don't think they've gone far enough. And I think people on the left see the movements towards economic liberalization as moral compromises. They have this idea, I think, that if they could have the right society and the just society, there'd be very little role for markets at all, at least in some domains of people's lives. I think that morally speaking, that's quite wrong. That in fact, the more we marketize, the more things we make for sale, if we do it in a way that shows concern for the poor and thinking about the way the whole structure works so that no class is left behind, then that's a way that can be more attractive, a more attractive ideal of social justice. So insofar as people on the left have moved towards economic liberty, I applaud them morally. But if they think they're doing that as a compromise, I hope they might rethink that idea. They might find there's a conception of fairness, a way of caring about our fellow citizens that's deeply connected to our respecting their private economic liberties.
But if we would have a society where private economic liberties were respected more, you're saying that will deliver social justice. What
Yes.
if there was a consensus that having followed that procedure, the social justice outcome wasn't good enough?
Yes.
To what extent would you be prepared to say, well, the state can intervene to correct for that?
I think that unbridled capitalism is not a democratically justifiable structure. So I think that a free society, a society that's committed to treating all its citizens as free and equal self-governing agents, must be prepared to have the state standing by to help citizens in conditions of extreme need. So I'm very much in favor. My book, Free Market Fairness, is very much open to the possibility of a social safety net, of public support for schooling. It's a classical liberal view along the lines of Adam Smith's, not in his moral foundations, but in the structure of the view, not a strict libertarian one.
In the end, though, this does look, or certainly from the British perspective, as though your definition of social justice is just an American one. It doesn't look like European social democracy. Are you just happy to say that's right?
From my perspective, the perspective of my theory, America has gone far away from its commitment to economic liberty. The American state has grown. The range of individual economic freedom in America is very low. It's lower than it is in some European social democracies. By some indices, Denmark and Sweden have more economic liberty on some dimensions than America does. So I do not hold America up any longer, if ever, as a standard bearer for a model society. I do think, though, that at the level of philosophy, we're trying to think what's the most appropriate way to realize our commitment to build a social world in which every citizen is treated as a person, treated with respect, treated as an equal self-governing agent. I think there's an idea within American concepts, within the American celebration of individualism, of individual responsibility, of hard work, and of personal responsibility for one's economic life, that's really, really attractive. And if you want to call it American, fair enough. I call it free market fairness.